Jim Anthony here with Indiana Responsible Gun Owners. You can hit the website at myirgo.com, myirgo.com. And it's all about educating gun owners and keeping you up to date on where the training and the education opportunities are throughout central Indiana. We're talking to Instructor Bravo here. And this is going to be different because this little conversation today is for the instructors. And it's instructors of all levels, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So he's bringing out a new course for instructors that you need to know about. So why don't you tell us about it?
So first of all, what I want to talk about is just how the course came to be, right? So this is a course that is launched by Human Factors Research Group and Bruce Siddle. And a lot of, I think, CCW instructors won't know who Bruce Siddle is, right? But Bruce Siddle back in the 80s started a company called PPCT Management Systems. And they were a use of force training system for law enforcement. And they ended up becoming the largest use of force training system in North America for law enforcement. So running things like defensive tactics, spontaneous knife defense, a physical use of force solution for SWAT operators running with guns in a CQB environment, right? And ground escape, ground avoidance, ground escape, gauge class, right? So they got a lot of different courses that they've offered for decades to the law enforcement community. But what Bruce is for you guys that don't know, Bruce is literally one of the greatest minds of our time on the subject of human performance in a violent encounter and human limitations.
And the author of this right here, right?
Yeah, so this is his old book, Sharpening the Warrior's Edge, written to instructors. He is redoing this, so he's coming out with a brand new edition pretty soon as he updates this. But this one's been out of publication, I think, since about 2008.
So you can't even get it right now.
Well, you can find them used.
Okay.
If I already haven't bought it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really, what he covers in here is a really solid overview of a lot of research that he did, some time ago. And since then, there's been a lot more. But so Bruce, I want to say back, I think I found out about it in about 2000. So I was one of his instructors. I mean, a lot of instructors, right? So I was doing the defensive tactics instruction and spontaneous knife defense instruction at the time. And I found out, I don't remember how I found out, but I found out they were coming out with a new firearms instruction course. And I got real excited because at that time I was a law enforcement firearms instructor running interagency training for our guys and gals. And so when I found out about this, I called one of what they call staff instructors, right? He's got a handful of staff instructors that they do research with him and stuff. They're kind of really significant key players in his organization. And I reached out to my guy, right, who certified me, who was also a staff instructor, and asked him about it. And so I was really excited. I got a hold of Bruce's son one day, and we talked about it for a while. And of course, there was a lot of excitement, but it just wasn't ready yet. It just wasn't. If you understand Bruce takes his time with the research because everything has to be scientifically proven. So when Bruce, it took a long time. I mean, this took a long time, and it wasn't too long ago when Bruce literally released this to the law enforcement community. So right now, I think Bruce said to me, I was just down at his place last week for a whole week. He spent about, I think they got about 500 instructors certified in this system already. But
now what's the name of this again?
So this is Tactical Firearms Engagement.
Tactical Firearms Engagement.
Yeah, it's had an evolution of names.
Now, is that CQB related or is it?
So literally, this has been released to the law enforcement. Let me finish this, right? So it got released to the law enforcement community. They got about 500 instructors that have been certifying law enforcement officers in it, and law enforcement officers have found this to be an extremely successful solution in reality. So we got some actual video cam of officers successfully using this method, right, in real life. So it's a very powerful system. So I got a hold of Bruce, I don't know, it feels like a year ago. And I started prodding in Bruce's ear. Bruce, we need to push this out to the concealed carry community. This is because
now help us make that leap too from law enforcement and law enforcement instructors to the actual concealed carry community. How's that tie together?
So how does
because it sounds, you know, some people's thinking it sounds
well,
like
this is for law enforcement.
Right,
this isn't
right.
me.
So help us make that bridge.
So you got to remember now. Some instructors won't feel that way. They'll feel like, oh yeah, law enforcement. I understand that connection, right? I mean, a gunfight is a gunfight. Some ways in which things are handled, right, can be different based on the legal capability of a law enforcement officer, right? Is being a law enforcement officer myself, you know what my job is and the laws that I have to do and execute my duties. What really was interesting to me was this, Bruce calls it a tactical solution, right? That's the physical skills side of, because there's a boatload of research and science behind it. Then we got to have the medical side that proves the solution. And then we got to have the tactical solution as it's a viable tactical solution and actually works, right? It's not just, oh, we think that this technique will work, right? So, but this tactical solution was, he actually developed this for the CIA when he was actually employed by the CIA. One of the things Bruce said to me was, you know, I started thinking about you asking me about the concealed carry community. I thought, well, this tactical solution was based on that. It was based on concealed carry. So one of the problems that they had with the CIA agents in these, you know, other countries, right, is they're walking down through alleys in the middle of the night and they're getting robbed. They're getting stabbed, they're getting shot. I mean, they're having to defend themselves in a spontaneous critical incident, right?
Which is not unlike somebody on the streets of
exactly,
America. Right,
you know.
okay. There's the tie-in. Yeah.
So they did some research then, they came out with this tactical solution, and there's been some modifications to it, and then a lot of science that's come behind it. So that's the connection. It literally has its foundations built in concealed carry. And of course, the CIA had great success with this, right? One of the things that's so critical about this is you need to understand what is this solving, right? And that's what Bruce does. It's like, you know, you go take a class with an instructor. We know, because we take a lot of classes with, you know, instructors all over the United States, right? As instructors, we're always trying to get around top talent, right? And they're kind of teaching a gamut, close range, mid range, long range, stretching us out past our limits, getting us to, you know, literally get to that point where we break and we fall apart and then bringing it back in, pushing ourselves. But this solution is literally from 0 feet, I would say, out to about 12 feet at max. And it's on that spontaneous deadly force assault. That's what this solves. This isn't for, you know, you're
and
pulling.
by the way, that's most interactions throughout the United States. Within 12 feet. All it's at, you know, that's what.
I mean, it really is the most phenomenal solution for that typical gunfight where we always talk about, especially in our classes, that everybody's got those little different distances, you know, 0 to 9 or 5 to 7 or whatever it is, you know, based on whatever statistics they're quoting at the time. This is a solution for that. And the whole premise of this is they looked at the assailant draw.
The bad guy,
the assailant,
how they draw.
Where are they getting the gun from?
Okay.
And they found 7 key main areas of where these guns are coming from. And they looked at, and they did a year, like a decade of research on the assailant's draw time from each of those positions.
Give us one example of the 7.
So well, let's go with the worst, right?
Okay.
The worst is 0.370.
0.370 seconds.
So just a tad over a third of a second. And that's literally...
Where are they drawn from?
One common area, right? One of the other things we study...
I'm going to guess appendix, right?
No.
That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing.
In the hand, down by the thigh, partially hidden.
So they already have it in their hand.
Absolutely.
They're holding it.
This is a common...
And they're hiding it.
You got to remember, so in this course, as an instructor, so my goal is, now that I've been authorized by Bruce Siddle to push this out, we're pushing this content out to instructors. One of the things we study is a subject called predation.
What?
Predation.
Predation.
I know, it's so cool.
I'm sure that has something to do with predators.
Yes, exactly.
Bad guys.
Exactly. So a whole bunch of research was...
New word there, community.
A whole bunch of research was done in predation to bring a deeper understanding of the natural predatory instincts in humans.
Wow.
And so this 0.370 is the fastest time we're trying to beat in that close quarter assailant draw, right? The tactical solution, I mean, I can't go into about all the different things that we do, but there are 3 different types of draws, really I think like 4, right? But mainly 3. The goal is to get in front of that time. And they really broke down what is dragging people down. What's slowing people down?
In this case, you're talking about the good guy, the victim.
Yeah. What's slowing us down as
being able to respond.
The person who's been confronted by this deadly force.
Is it possible to respond within 0.37 seconds, though?
So really,
you don't even know you're going to have to respond. You have no. I mean,
there is. So when you think about it, there's so many directions to go because this literally.
We're going to be here for 5 hours.
Yeah, this is a 3-day-long instructor certification class. One is all in class. We'll be doing it on a Zoom on one weekend, and then the next weekend or within a couple weekends later. Yeah. I got one in May right here.
May 1st.
May 1st,
and then the 14th and 15th.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So I broke it out so that we did a Zoom on one weekend, and then you can come and do 2 days in the classroom where we're doing a little bit more lectureship, some more study, but we're really. One thing about Bruce, repetition. He really understands that the development of the neural pathways is critical and sleep cycles to you getting the skills in anything that he does. That's why he has literally mapped out how many repetitions need to be done. So
and this is all classroom, too. There's no shooting or range time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So now we're getting into the marketing solution, right? Like what does this do for the marketplace?
Okay.
But overall, I know that a lot of people are probably sitting out there, guys and gals, instructors, are just like, they got a million questions going on.
Can you imagine how much better of an instructor you'll be after you've gone through something like that, though?
Oh,
the richness of your knowledge and how this all works.
Yeah.
So this kind of course can make an already existing instructor a deeper, richer, better instructor.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely. Well, what it does is, for me, I've been instructing interdepartmental agency instructor and now concealed carry instructor for the general community. I've only been doing that. I think this is my 6th year. I think I started in 2017. But I've been interdepartmental agency all the way back into the mid 1990s. And when I took this, and I've been a Bruce instructor. I've been, teaching his content before. But this new research, is just, they're getting into Dr. Beatrice's study of the human eye, bringing stuff down literally into the hundredths of a second is how fast does movement take for the eye to pick up? How fast does it take to understand an overall shape and then transition that through the core into the frontal lobe and processing? All this stuff is totally brought down to a scientific level. And I think one thing that we can understand is, especially as USCCA instructors, is that Chapter 5, right? The Pack 5 that you teach, the one that violent encounters and their aftermaths, right? That little bit of talking, you think about, perceptual narrowing, and I use a little bit terminology difference. They talk about it from an adrenaline standpoint, and they talk about the thalamus and all that. I talk about it more clinically because I was trained by Bruce Siddle back in the 90s and early 2000s. All that was literally compiled by research done by Bruce Siddle. So when people teach Pack 5, a big portion of that was concepts that may have been even thought of before Bruce was even born. But the research that coupled and brought that and said, no, now we know for sure. When science now proves that this is a reality, right? This is truth. So it's really interesting. But I think let's go back to what you just mentioned. We talked about, what is this? So really the question is, I'm sure a lot of people are asking,
how it applies.
What does this mean to you guys, right, as the instructor?
These instructors. This video is for you, the instructors.
Yep. So one of the things I think that's really critical to understand is nobody's teaching this. Somebody may be doing something similar in the tactical solution realm, but not in its totality, and definitely not with the science that goes behind it. So like you mentioned, right? When an instructor gets certified in this system, I would say you're going to know some, right? But after you spend time teaching this and continuing to deep dive into certain sections of the material that you've been given, it will make you a better instructor in all areas. But nobody's teaching this. No one has the science behind it that can prove the successfulness of the tactical solution. And of course, so like in class, some of the things that you'll be doing with students is getting them to understand those micro threat cues, those threat indicators, picking up on physical involuntary movements that the assailant does when they're in that predation, that predatory, getting ready to attack. Those are critical because that spontaneous event, that spontaneous deadly force assault that occurs, that's where you get time. So literally,
situational awareness gives you time.
So I found.
In other words, you start reacting before they start attacking.
What it is, So you start your movement. So we talk about engagement or evasion is the first thing we do because you may not actually see the weapon, but the indicators, those involuntary indicators, tell you that the attack is coming, and of course other indicators like distance, right, environment. Right, those situational awarenesses that we all understand as instructors real well. Man, I think I'm not in the right place, and all of a sudden here comes this guy, and you're like, whoa, what is he wearing? How does he look? What's his behaviors? Now, I see the movement in his eyes. I see the movement in his brow. There's the lip. Wow. I mean, those involuntary micro muscles. I mean, we get into the class, we actually identify those muscles that react when certain thought processes occur in the human mind. And it's not uncommon to like an interrogation expert who can tell if someone's lying by eye movement and lip movement, right?
So now, let me pause there for just a second to address newer gun owners, not the instructors, but people, and by the way, we didn't even mention Parabellum in this video. Parabellum, we're in Avon, Indiana right now at Parabellum. That is a indoor range with about a dozen lanes. I need to go count them.
There's 1, 2, 3,
10 or
4.
12, I don't know, quite a few lanes, multiple instructors here. We're in their classroom. It's one of the best classrooms in central Indiana for teaching firearms instruction. And then the retail. I mean, tons of inventory here, firearms, ammo, gear, bags, magazines, you name it. So great place to learn, to train, and get the gear you need. So that's Parabellum. The reason I wanted to bring them up, though, is because in their classes, I come as the USCCA guy for Central Indiana, and I just share about USCCA membership with the students in this class, learning basic firearms, intro to firearms. And it comes up often, what's the difference between a guy approaching you who is scary and intimidating? At what moment does he become an imminent threat and you're allowed to use lethal force? Now, the answer to that question is not simple because he can get really close to you, and if you shot him, you would be committing murder. But he can go from a scary, intimidating guy who's very close to you to attacking you in less than a second. Now you do have the right to use lethal force, but you don't have the time. You can't, you know what I mean? So my whole point is this. What I try to tell the newer gun owners who are learning basic firearms is you've got to be good at recognizing threats before they become an imminent threat. Because you may not have, if you wait until he actually becomes an imminent threat, it may be too late. And so that's what he's talking about right now. Even for a new gun owner, learning some of those skills of recognizing threats before they become like imminent is a big part of your ability to defend yourself. I give an example of a gas station. If you're at a gas station and somebody's approaching you, you're not sure if they're a threat or not. Maybe you casually just move to the other side of your car and act like you're going to pick something up, just so you get more time to assess whether this guy is still coming at you or not. Little things like that. But if you're not aware and you're not assessing threat before it becomes an imminent threat, you may not have time to defend yourself. And my whole point for the new folks is it's not always clear. It's complex. It's a lot of gray areas between being intimidating and an actual threat. And so some of these things about early threat indicators could be a game changer.
Yeah, so it's also too.
Now back to the instructors. Yeah, that was for the new folks.
Yeah, there's even more beyond this. So, and of course we can't go into it all, but as we see those indicators, and as we see the physical movement, right, and then we evade, that gives us time. The evasion also resets their mind, right? Because if they're in the process of an attack, and I mean like their gun isn't out, the knife isn't out, the weapon isn't out, I don't have the right to use deadly force yet. My evade, which this stepping off the line laterally that we do that on the range, is not the right solution. The research shows the body movement, literally, we can't we move slower going in a lateral movement than we do in the tactical solution in sittles. A lot longer, and we can't get off the line of attack. But by the evade, we cause a couple things to happen. One, we're stepping off that line, causing a hard reset. We know that the assailant can't catch up at that point. And it gives us time to assess. That split second we need, and we're talking about, you know, a tenth of a hundredth of a second. You know, and literally we know that we can't outdraw an assailant on a spontaneous deadly force assault. We know that
Action,
the average,
reaction.
I mean, their study shows, that the officer is literally a half a second behind in reality. So we're trying to create the gap. We get those pre-threat indicators, those micro cue indicators there. We got the movement that's giving us more time. And then the tactical solution on the end puts the subject down faster. Instant response, instant incapacitation. And I'm not talking about what we do on the range now as firearms instructors.
I know what you're talking about, but we'll cover that later.
And so
I really learned a lot yesterday. You talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't want to blow it in
know.
here. I don't want to mention it here. This is something that really should be safe for the class.
Fascinating.
So with all the science, with the tactical solution that we have, coupled with the understanding of how the human brain flows and functions, and how that Dr. Beatrice did with Bruce Siddle, the research on the eye, I literally sat in this class as an instructor for 20 plus years, right? I went through the training myself, right? What we do in class, what you would do with your students. And I watched, as I call it, my eye learned. That's not a Bruce Siddle term, that's something that I call. The eye learns the movements. The eye learns the cues. And what happens is time slows down. You actually will see that matrix. One of the guys, so I took two other USCCA instructors with me from different parts of the region. And one of the guys like, once, you'll see it when you're doing the training yourself in the instructor class, it's the aha moment,
now,
right?
Wait a minute.
And it's beyond the aha.
Will I be able to stop bullets?
Well, no. But what you will is the person will go slower while you feel faster.
Wow.
And because you're going up against the camera. So it's an amazing feeling when the eye and the brain learns it and you literally cause time to slow down. It feels slow because you're so far ahead of the curve on their movements. It's literally, so I always say like this, the whole purpose of the class is get the students, get the good guys above the power curve of time on a deadly force assault. And that's exactly what it does. The beauty of the class too, folks, for you instructors out there, this is not done live. This is done with SIRT pistol based in a classroom, all in a classroom, and it is horrendously effective. The great thing I can't wait to do is take it to a live range too. Because now, after learning this, it's like, how is this going to change what I do on a range when I have a target that's...
Could you use this in a shoot house?
10 feet away.
Force? Could you practice it?
It depends on the situation, right? Because remember, this is for a spontaneous deadly force assault.
Right.
This isn't the time for like, you get out of your car in the Walmart parking lot and you see some dude over there, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is totally a bad dude. I can just tell. And you know, the hair stands up on the back of your neck, and he's like, 25 feet away, and all of a sudden he pulls out a baseball bat or a knife, and he's coming at you. That is totally different.
Give us an example of what you're talking about then. That's not the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
What is an example of this?
So this is literally someone just literally comes right in front of you, anywhere from 0. I mean, it can be you can use this out to 12 feet, but the problem I think that I see with me is my eyes aren't as good, right? So I can't pick up on those indicators that too far away. Plus, my situational awareness is really, really keen.
So wait a minute,
at that
they're up close, but they haven't attacked you yet.
Yeah, right.
That's the point.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Now, the tactical solution can be the same to that, but it's for those close distances and that spontaneous deadly force assault where you're like, maybe you can't change your direction, but you're walking through a mall and you're going one way and this person's going another, and you notice them, but you don't really think that they're a threat until all of a sudden you start seeing those micro threat cues and you're like, oh my goodness, and then you see the hand come from where the weapon is. And we look at open carry appendix, open carry concealed, The hoodie.
Wait a minute, open, carry, conceal, what do you mean?
Appendix carry concealed. Right?
Appendix carry concealed.
Appendix carry open.
Gotcha.
Hoodie. Hand down by
Okay.
here.
All right.
Outside the waistband, strong. Inside the waistband, concealed. Behind the small of the back, and from a purse. I mean, there's like seven key locations.
Yep.
Right? And each one has its draw time. And when you go through the training, you literally, except the .370, the person down here, the guy holding it down here, is extremely fast. I mean, extremely fast. So while you can make a better effective than just standing there, it's still hard to beat that because we're using targeting vectors and lasers. So we know when the student is literally off the center point from the assailant drawn before the shot goes off, because we're also filming this in slow motion.
Oh, wow.
And the student gets to see it. They literally see
really
the targeting
analyze.
laser on their chest,
Yeah.
right in the center, which we have to assume that's where the assailant's pointing. That's where the assailant's going to go. So ultimately, it's a really effective solution that helps the students in that specific circumstance, right? Which is what I consider, and you just said it early on, that's the common zone, right? But the stuff we're doing on the range with them, I don't know how we're setting them up for complete success, because they're the skills that we're doing.
Most of the range stuff in my mind is just getting them familiar with a handgun.
No, I mean, I'm talking even in advanced classes.
Oh, okay.
You know, even in advanced classes, we're doing things that are causing time delays.
Yeah, you need this classroom time to get your head.
And so, this is
place.
so knowing that it was Bruce Siddle, one of the things I saw is for an instructor for me, I thought, wow, this is great. This is going to be the next greatest thing since sliced bread. No one's going to be teaching it because there's only one certified law enforcement instructor in the world teaching this to concealed carry holders right now, and that is a guy in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So none of the guys that I know of that are certified, like 500 that are certified,
And
are doing this.
Back up a second, because this is not some pie in the sky, esoteric, super advanced knowledge. This is stuff that pretty much ultimately every firearms owner, every person who carries a firearm needs to understand.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is what I talk about a lot in these classes. Goes back to that fundamental. This is the difference between knowing when you can use lethal force and when you can't.
Oh, yeah.
And the earlier you can detect the threat, the better prepared you are to be able to address that threat legally, effectively.
Yep.
Well, it also ties in for me, in my mind, we talked about it earlier, you train to fight so you can walk in peace. The more you learn about this stuff, the more, I think, confident you're going to be, the more peaceful, the less likely to make a mistake, the less likely to overreact or react too soon and get yourself in legal trouble. These kinds of things aren't just advanced, super high-end stuff. This is the kind of stuff that gives you that peace and confidence so you don't make mistakes.
Yeah, so I think so there's so much involved in this course, and that the instructor will learn and will learn later on. So when you just mentioned one, and we talk about confidence, right? So when a spontaneous deadly force assault is not that spontaneous, what happens to your fear level? I mean, think to yourself right now. What happens to your fear level? Are you less fearful or are you more fearful? If I told you you got to go into your home and clear a bad guy out of your house because your family's in there, you're going to be less afraid than if all of a sudden you went in there, walked around the corner and there's a dude with a knife held at your child's throat. That moment, your fear level is going to go up. So what happens is this system literally helps us keep the SNS down and hopefully from even triggering and activating, thus keeping the cognitive processing open and free to maintain thought process information and data and make decisions. Because it's when SNS hits and that SNS
Tell
activation
'em SNS
happens.
again, what that
Sympathetic nervous system.
Right.
You guys are teaching it in
Yeah.
the PowerPoint chapter 5 if you're in
Of
USCCA.
certified
Yeah, I mean you're talking all about it. It's, all those are the effects of the sympathetic nervous
But when you
system.
talk about fear too, you talk about the differences between knowing you're going to have to go in and then instantaneous. Now add another layer, knowing you have to go in and knowing you have the skills to address that issue.
Oh yeah.
So that level of training has a huge impact on your fear level, which then greatly reduces your chance of making a mistake, overreacting, reacting too soon. A lot of good things come from just having that extra knowledge and that extra training.
And instructors that get certified in this now, I think they're really going to be in a very advantageous position as this rolls into the marketplace.
Yeah.
This is going to be a mainstay.
Yeah.
In 15 years from now, it's going to be as common of a teaching methodology as we talk about isosceles position.
Yeah, standard grip and stance.
Yeah, it really is.
And this is what, the reason I put up the Indiana Responsible Gun Owners website is I was just thinking there's lots of stuff that Indiana gun owners need to know, right? And especially the newer gun owners. And I love the way all the stuff we talk about, it ties together handling a firearm, fear, biological processes, situations and scenarios, all the different gamut of things that firearms owners need to know. We're tying it all together with all this.
Yep.
And it all relates. That's why I'm saying, yeah, you can go to the range and shoot, and that's good, but that's like 5% of all the stuff you really need to know. If you're going to carry a firearm, you need to understand psychology and the biology and things like tunnel vision and auditory exclusion and fear and its impact on your cognitive abilities and situational awareness and different scenarios and how to respond. There's a huge pool of things people need to dive into and learn.
And that's what
we're talking
instructors
about.
for crying out
loud. And then instructors got to be the ones to share it.
I mean, the majority of the instructors out there, I think they're a USCCA instructor. They're probably an NRA instructor. They've done a few classes with some key name people. Some guys that or gals that they thought, hey, I have a lot of respect. But when you get out of this class, your level of knowledge, and I'm not going to say you're going to come out knowing every single thing in the system. There is too much to know.
There's just so much.
But you're going to have 2 years worth of research work that you can do. I mean, a lot of this work that's built into this was 40 years of research that Bruce Siddle did. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have all this knowledge at your fingertips. That alone, the knowledge, is going to make you a better instructor. Period.
I love that.
You will increase even the CCHDF class, your Concealed Carry Home Defense Fundamentals course. You'll be able to frame context data deeper and broader than the slide, but then couple the fact that now you're coming out with a brand new course where you're going to have the ability to buy the PowerPoint. You're going to have the context. You're going to be certified even at a law enforcement level. You're going to be certified from Human Factors Research Group in this system. And your students will not only just take a class with you, but they'll be certified by Bruce Siddle as well. So if anything they do in reality, this system, literally Bruce Siddle, and he's stood on many of expert witness for court cases.
He's in the courts.
Oh yeah, you can put him up on YouTube right now and type Bruce Siddle, and you'll see him testify on court cases for officers and their reactions and how they seen, how they reacted, what they did, how they processed data, stuff they heard. But this system is going to give you another class that you can teach that does not need a range.
Is there a prerequisite to take this?
You got to be a certified instructor.
Okay, you have to be a certified
I'll have
instructor.
to vet you. Now, how do you find out about the class? Go to instructorbravo.com. That's my website.
Instructorbravo.com.
Yeah, you go there and you can get my phone number off the website. You can also, down on the first page, there's like an info box where you can request more information. I say it's about hosting courses, but literally you can type a message in there. Please give me your full name and your phone number to call you back on, because sending emails about this and answering your questions is going to take me way too long. Right? There's going to be a lot of talk and a lot of buzz about this, and I'm excited.
First one is May 1st.
Yeah, so I have one
May 14th and 15th. 3 days.
Columbus, Indiana. So May 1st will be a Zoom. Right, we're going to do the classroom, the big portion of the classroom. Now, the beauty of this, I talked to Bruce, well, because they're from the law enforcement community, everything they do is Monday through Friday, because everyone's getting paid to go, right? They're taking time off from the patrol car, and the agencies are paying them to do this. But I said, Bruce, we need to break this up. Can I break this up? Can we do a Zoom, in-person Zoom classroom? And he said, yeah, that sounds good. But what's great about the Zoom is, like on this course, you're going to take the Zoom on the first, right? But then you're going to have all this time where you're going to be able to study, and I may send out some key emails to the class to direct you to the right areas to study so that you can take when you take that test. And then when you come to class,
on the
you're
14th and 15th.
Yeah, you're going to have way more time to research, study, and know that material than I did. I mean, to get certified as an instructor trainer, we had to go for 5 days. And I'm telling you what, as an instructor trainer, this was the hardest certification I ever had to do. I mean, we literally studied in class. We had lectureships in class, one-on-one talks with Bruce Siddle. And then the amount of repetitions we did, it was like, okay, get online. We want you to step on the TPR star and want you to do 25 steps. And repetition. Okay, now 25 steps with the CQB draw. And it was like boom, 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 boom. The amount of repetitions that we do to develop those neural pathways, plus coupled with the sleep cycles, transforms the capability before your own eye. When you come to class, yeah, we'll probably have some more classroom portions as we prepare for that final exam, but we will be doing a boatload of reps. And also too, because, and I hate to say this, I don't mean to brag, but with the experience that I got when I was there and understanding and having been certified in 2 systems of Bruce's prior, I saw some really key things that we're going to be able to do with this program that is going to impact the effectiveness of the USCC, of the concealed carry firearms instructors. So got to remember, so one of the things that's my goal, everyone, and you'll see this from Bravo Inc., is I'm taking critical courses out there that you guys can't get into unless you're a cop, and I'm modifying that curriculum, transforming the curriculum, and pushing that out to the concealed carry instructor community. Because my goal was, I'm like you. I wanted to make better students, but I realized that if I make better instructors, right, then I can solve that. I can impact the community more. So this is the first one to come out. The next one I'm coming out with is an advanced firearms instructor certification. That's going to be, oh my gosh, wait till that. It's going to be a hit knocked right out of the park. Coupled with this. So my goal for my company is to bring out excellent, superior content you guys can't get. You cannot get. Bring it to you so we can build you guys up better than you are now, and you'll make better students, have more students in your class, more exciting, relevant content, and grow your business. I mean, that's really what it's about.
This is so perfect because that's what Indiana Responsible Gun Owners is all about.
Amen.
It's taking all the stuff he's doing to support these instructors so that the gun owners get this knowledge, training, and education, and preparation, and I know we say stay sharp, stay safe. It makes them sharper and safer.
That's it.
That's what it's all about. So to wrap this up, first and foremost, I want to thank Parabellum in Avon, Indiana, for allowing us to use their classroom here today to talk about this. Check out their calendar on their website. A lot of classes there. Then USCCA. Go to myergo.com. There's a USCCA link there. Click on that, get all kinds of information on the United States Concealed Carry Association and the Protector Academy. Tons of training online there. myergo.com, myirgo.com, instructorbravo.com. I think that's about it.
Keep
learning.
You know what? A big thanks to all the instructors out there who are doing a good job.
We got great instructors in Indiana. I work with a lot of them, and every single one of them is awesome.
Every day they're out there, they're working hard and diligent, trying to get better and grow. That's what we do as a community. We help each other out.
Big time, big time. So keep learning, and keep learning. So stay sharp and stay safe.
Thank you.